Sometimes you're standing right there in the middle of your own life and it feels like you're watching it happen to someone else. Like you're behind glass, like there's a thin, invisible layer between you and everything you're supposed to be feeling in this exact moment. Present, but somehow not fully. Actually hear it all. You hear your own voice talking, and it sounds slightly far away. You see your own hands moving, and they don't quite feel like yours in this moment. People are laughing, or crying, or reacting normally around you, and you're simply observing it all, like a camera positioned somewhere just behind your own eyes. If that feeling is familiar to you, this video is going to explain exactly why your mind sometimes steps back from your own life without any warning at all, and why that stepping back isn't you losing your grip on reality. It's something far more specific, far more protective, and far more common than you probably realize. Picture this. You're at dinner with people you genuinely love. Conversation flows normally around you, and somewhere in the middle of it, you quietly, suddenly drift away. Not physically. You're still sitting there nodding at the right moments, responding when spoken to, but some part of you has stepped back, watching the entire scene unfold. Your own laughter sounds slightly delayed to your ears, like you're hearing it a half second after it actually happens. Your body is performing the moment without you fully inside it. You catch yourself thinking, almost clinically, "This is what my life looks like right now," as if you're describing a scene in a film rather than living it directly. Later, you try to recall the details of the evening and everything feels slightly hazy, slightly unreal, like remembering something you watched rather than something you actually experienced firsthand. This isn't the same as simply being distracted or tired. It's a specific, disorienting sense that you and your own experience have somehow quietly, invisibly separated from each other. And the strangest part is how normal you seem the entire time. Nobody around you notices anything different. The disconnection lives entirely inside you, completely invisible from the outside. This isn't a sign that something is fundamentally wrong with you. It's a specific psychological experience with a name, a purpose, and a clear, understandable origin story. Psychologists call this depersonalization, or sometimes derealization when it applies more to the world around you. Both are forms of dissociation, a mental distancing from direct experience. Depersonalization specifically refers to feeling detached from yourself, your body, or your thoughts, as if observing yourself from outside rather than being fully present inside your own experience. Derealization refers to the world itself feeling unreal, distant, foggy, or dreamlike, as though a thin veil separates you from your actual physical surroundings and environment entirely. These aren't signs of psychosis or losing touch with reality in a dangerous sense. You still know what's real. You simply don't feel fully, directly connected to it. This distinction matters enormously. Dissociation is your mind's way of creating psychological distance, not because reality has changed, but because being fully present has become too overwhelming somehow. Think of it like your mind quietly stepping into an adjacent room, watching through a window, while still technically remaining in the building where everything is actually happening. This happens because your nervous system has learned at some point that full presence isn't always safe. So it created a built-in exit, a way to partially, temporarily leave. And the more overwhelming a moment becomes, the more likely this protective distancing activates, quietly pulling you back from full direct contact with whatever you're currently experiencing. Here's what happens inside someone who develops this pattern. At some point, being fully present in a moment became genuinely too much for the nervous system to hold. Maybe it was one overwhelming event. Maybe it was chronic, ongoing stress, anxiety, or emotional overload that never fully resolved. Either way, your mind found a solution. It learned to step back slightly, creating just enough distance that the intensity became bearable, not gone, just softened, muted, viewed through a slightly thicker layer of glass. This is technically a form of dissociation, and dissociation exists on a wide spectrum. Mild versions include daydreaming or losing track of time. This sits further along that same spectrum. Your brain essentially decided that watching from a slight distance was safer than fully feeling everything directly, in real time, with nowhere available to retreat or hide. This protective mechanism often develops during periods of chronic anxiety, unresolved trauma, prolonged stress, or environments where full emotional presence repeatedly felt unsafe or completely overwhelming somehow. And here is the open loop worth holding on to, because we're absolutely coming back to it. This exact mechanism reflects a genuinely intelligent, adaptive nervous system. As an adult, this pattern can activate unpredictably during stress, during conflict, sometimes during genuinely good moments that simply feel too intense, too vulnerable, too much to fully hold. People experiencing this often describe feeling like they're living life through a screen or watching themselves from slightly behind their own body, present yet strangely, persistently unreachable. This can be deeply disorienting precisely because nothing about it looks unusual from the outside. You appear completely normal while feeling profoundly, quietly disconnected from your own direct experience. You see it in the person who watches themselves receive genuinely wonderful news and instead of feeling joy directly, observes their own reaction almost like a spectator slightly removed. You see it in the one who drives somewhere familiar and arrives with no real memory of the actual journey, as though someone else had been operating their body temporarily. You see it in the person, mid-argument, who suddenly floats slightly outside themselves, watching their own words leave their mouth as though narrated by someone else entirely. You see it in the one who looks in the mirror sometimes and feels a strange, unsettling unfamiliarity, as if genuinely uncertain whether that reflection actually belongs to them. You see it in the person at a genuinely happy celebration who feels oddly hollow, distant, disconnected, unable to access the joy everyone else around them seems to feel naturally. You see it in the one who describes their own traumatic memory calmly, almost clinically, as though reciting facts about a stranger, rather than describing something that actually happened to them. You see it in the person who feels most dissociated specifically during moments of real intimacy, when someone gets emotionally close enough that full presence starts feeling genuinely unsafe again. You see it in the one who scrolls through old photos of themselves and feels almost no connection to that person, as if looking at images of a complete stranger. And you see it in the quiet, specific loneliness of living an entire life while frequently feeling like you're only ever halfway inside it, watching from somewhere slightly removed. This creates its own particular exhaustion, constantly managing the world from a slight distance, never quite certain whether you're truly living your life or simply observing it unfold. I promised we'd return to something important. This mechanism reflects a genuinely intelligent, adaptive nervous system, not a broken one. Let's talk about exactly why that's true. Dissociation didn't appear randomly. It developed because at some point, your mind correctly identified that full, unfiltered presence would have been genuinely overwhelming or unsafe to endure. That's not malfunction. That's sophisticated threat assessment, executed instantly and automatically, protecting you from experiencing something your system correctly judged as too intense to fully absorb directly. Your mind essentially built you an emergency exit, a way to remain functional while quietly reducing the emotional voltage running through an otherwise unbearable or overwhelming moment. The tragedy isn't that this protective mechanism exists. The tragedy is that it sometimes activates now in genuinely safe moments simply because your system hasn't yet updated the alert. Here's the reframe that matters. You didn't disconnect from your life because something is wrong with you. You disconnected because something once felt like genuinely too much, too fast. That distancing capacity, uncomfortable as it feels now, likely helped you survive something specific. It bought you exactly enough space to keep functioning when full presence felt impossible. You were never simply checked out or careless. You were a nervous system doing exactly what nervous systems do, protecting consciousness itself from experiences too overwhelming to fully absorb directly. So what does healing this actually look like? It begins gently with small grounding practices, noticing 5 things you can see, feel, or hear in this exact moment. It means practicing returning slowly to your body during safe, ordinary moments, noticing your own breathing, your own hands, your own feet actually touching the ground beneath you. It means understanding that dissociation isn't something to fight aggressively. It's a signal worth gently investigating. What does this specific moment feel like? It's asking me to escape from. It means building enough safety over time that your nervous system slowly, gradually learns it no longer needs to step back quite so far, quite so often, quite so automatically, This mechanism kept you functional during something genuinely difficult. It was intelligent, protective, and completely necessary once. But you're finally allowed to gently, gradually invite yourself back inward because you were never broken or unreachable. You were simply protecting yourself the only way you knew how. And slowly, safely, you're allowed to fully arrive again.